Ben Shalom and Sky, they are no longer an item. So he did this interview here on Seconds Out on their YouTube channel. And as you can see from the title, it says, Ben Shalom breaks silence on Sky deal ending. We have an exciting announcement soon. Now, he didn't elaborate on what the announcement would be. Presumably it's a broadcast deal, right? But in terms of where he's going, he didn't elaborate. You would assume that all roads lead to DAZN because they've been hoovering up all the promoters. But I guess there's always the possibility of another broadcaster coming out of left field and Ben Shalom going in that direction instead. The other broadcaster, or the only other broadcaster I could think of that would have a serious budget for him, would be TNT. Would Ben Shalom go in that direction rather than going with DAZN? I doubt it, because then it makes things a little more complicated, doesn't it? If he's going to have his fighters on these Riyadh season cards and Ring Magazine cards and what have you. Because if DAZN have all the promoters in the UK, they can basically dispense with all the other broadcasters then. And making fights, well, it's all under one broadcast stable. Personally, I'm a little concerned about one broadcaster having everything. I would prefer if there was some variety, because monopolies generally are not good. Netflix would be another possibility, but they don't seem to be really trying to get into boxing on a broader scale. They just seem interested in certain big fights. I mean, there was some talk about Dana White's Boxing League possibly being on Netflix because of the fact that the guy involved with WWE now, the guy who runs it, his, obviously, WWE is on Netflix and whatnot. So there was some talk about that, and that would be interesting. In fact, I would like Netflix to seriously get into boxing. Not just the odd big event every now and then, but regular events, because they would provide some serious competition for DAZN. And Netflix, of course, have an incredibly successful business. And DAZN initially claimed that they wanted to be the Netflix of sport. But the business model hasn't worked out for them because they haven't been able to acquire enough big sports other than boxing to keep themselves afloat, right? So they've had to go the pay-per-view model and so on and so forth. They're spamming pay-per-views at this stage, DAZN. Whereas Netflix have already got an enormous subscriber base. They showed with the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight, and I have to imagine both guys got paid quite well, they showed that they can put on big events, expensive events, without pay-per-view. They introduced a cheaper tier for people to subscribe on, and that was like a de facto pay-per-view. And they made presumably enormous amounts of money from it. And of course, Netflix, because they have movies and series and all this other stuff, you would imagine that people who sign up in the lead up to a big boxing event or whatever are more likely to stay, because some people are only boxing fans. They're not really going to watch other sports too tough. I'll be one of them. I occasionally watch a bit of UFC, but that's about it. And I haven't watched any UFC in quite a while now. Whereas when you've got content like movies and series, yeah, you're going to find something for everybody on there. Another reason why I hope Netflix stay in boxing and expand their boxing content is because they're not doing all the foul stuff that DAZN have been doing. I'm not sure if DAZN is still doing it, but they certainly were doing a lot of foul stuff by way of making it difficult for people to cancel their subscription with these ridiculous extended notice periods. And rather than just being able to press a button in the app like you can with Netflix to cancel your subscription, no. Instead, you press a button in the app and then they send you to a phone number. You're supposed to call this phone number or some type of chatbot or maybe a human agent, and then they're going to try and get you to stay. You know, like it used to be with satellite television and stuff like that, cable or various other services where you try and change and they'd send you to cancellations and you'd be on the phone for like 20, 30 minutes or something back in the days, right? DAZN are trying to come with all that carry on. Whereas with Netflix, it's the easiest thing in the world to cancel. I've had Netflix a bunch of times cancel, never any issues. So the customer experience with Netflix is so much better. And really and truly, Netflix is way better value for money. I think Netflix is actually cheaper than DAZN. Correct me if I'm wrong. And think about how much more content you get with Netflix than DAZN. So yeah, I hope that somebody, some promoter or whatever that has a bunch of talent does a deal with Netflix. There were some teething problems with the Jake Paul Mike Tyson broadcast. Some people experienced issues with the broadcast stopping and all that. I was switching between watching it on my laptop and watching it on a big screen. And I can't remember which was which, but on one of them, I had no buffering at all. And on the other one, I did have buffering. I can't remember which was which. It may have been the laptop, there was no buffering. I forget now. But a lot of people experience buffering and all sorts of things like that. What I will say is the picture quality for that show, Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul, was absolutely fantastic. I mean, it was way higher. They must have been using a much higher bit rate than DAZN normally do, because the picture quality was like so crystal clear, so sharp. I was like, no, they're using a bit rate way higher than I've seen used for boxing before, certainly on DAZN. And that might have been one of the reasons that they were having issues with the stream getting choppy, because they were just streaming at a much too high bit rate. You know, the quality was too good for the stream to handle. And also there was something like 60 million households watching. So you combine those two things and yeah, you may have teething problems, but they can iron that stuff out. They're a mature company. And the more stuff they do like that, the better they're going to get at it. So yeah, I hope Netflix get into boxing in a serious way. I doubt it will be Ben Shalom if they do, but you never know. It's a funny old sport. I guess another question would be, is there the possibility that Ben Shalom doesn't manage to get another broadcast deal? Well, he says there are several offers on the table. So he sounds positive that there will be another broadcast deal. Are you surrounded by mindless bots in human form who adhere to the norm and blindly conform? Who swallow all the mainstream BS and actually ridicule you for questioning things? Do you wish you had more free-thinking individuals in your life to network and converse with? Well, look no further. We're right here. Come and join the Brotherhood of Reason on Patreon. You'll gain access to my weekly topical content where we take deep dives on an endless variety of subjects, as well as my vast back catalogue of podcasts, videos, interviews, movie decodings, and my Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You'll also get to talk and network with myself and hundreds of other people in our members chat. You can enjoy all this via the Patreon app or on desktop and download all my podcasts in high-quality MP3. There's no contract, no commitment. You can cancel at any time, just like Netflix, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper. Just download the app from the Play Store or the App Store, or simply visit patreon.com on a web browser. Then head on over to my page and select the tier called the Brotherhood of Reason. All the links are in the description box below. And just a quick money-saving tip for Apple users. If you purchase your Patreon subscription on the desktop site or on Android, then you'll avoid the ridiculous 30% fee that Apple charges for purchases made on the iOS app. So if you're on iPhone or iPad, save yourself some money by buying your subscription on the actual Patreon website or on Android, because it's a lot cheaper. Once you've made that initial purchase, you can then use the Patreon app on your iPhone or iPad thereafter to access and enjoy your content as normal.